Today, we're going to take a different angle. It's going to be a real estate agent focused conversation. Today, we'll be talking about what's going on in the industry in relation to agent business. So if you're a realtor, this is going to be really good for you to listen to. And then Anton's going to be talking about what's working for him, what he thinks you should be doing. But my first question, Anton, is what is the current status of the real estate industry and specifically agent business?
Yeah.
What are agents doing or not doing?
Yeah.
What are the numbers looking like the last, 10 months of 2023?
The real estate market as a whole is contracting. So, we had the cheap money from COVID. We went to 6.5 million transactions, and that's an explosion in total number of transactions. Transactions last month, and these are national numbers, we were under 4 million, which is a very slow run rate. That's a 2008 run rate.
4 million for the whole year.
4 million nationally.
Got it.
So what happens is they record a monthly, and then they calculate based on that what it should be over the next 12 months, seasonally adjusted.
So it should be 4 million by the end of the year based off of
4 million is
trajectory.
its current run rate.
Got it.
Yep.
Got it.
And so what that means is it means the average agent's business, it means the business is down, 30 to 40%, okay, for most brokerages. But here's the kicker. There's a difference between the professional's business and the hobbyist business. So the hobbyist business is dead. It's gone. It's non-existent. And the professional's business is down, but it's not quite down as much. So what's happening is the professionals are taking all the transactions from the hobbyists, and the hobbyists are just non-existent. And you can see this when you look through the numbers, because I own multiple real estate brokerages, so I can pull what's called a top-down report, and it shows who's doing what, how many transactions they're doing. Normally, the majority of the business is done by the top 20%, the old 80-20 rule. Right now, we're at the 95-5. The 5% are doing 95% of the business, and the hobbyists are getting out. And you're seeing this too. You're seeing this in the National Association of Realtor. You're seeing NAR's membership numbers go down, and there's going to be less people renewing. And here in the Seattle Metro, we're seeing the total agent count go down, and we've seen that happen inside of our brokerages. That's going to continue for the next 2 years. So the mistake people make as a real estate agent is when business gets tough, instead of digging in, increasing their skills, and getting back to the basics and the fundamentals, they leave because it got harder. So what I mean is, like 2020, 21, 22, you just had to show up and you could have done deals, okay? Now, don't get me wrong, some deals were extremely hard during that time period because of the multiple bidding wars and things like that. But there were so many transactions that there was a plethora going around. Now, just showing up won't get you there, okay? You've got to get your skills up. But the mistake and the missed opportunity that these agents make is, instead of increasing their skills and plugging in, they leave the market. So what happens is, let's just go back in history. In 2007, our local Seattle Metro peaked. Parts of the rest of the U.S. peaked in 2005 and 2006. We peaked late. Then agent count bottomed by like 2010. That means 2010, 11, 12, 13, and 14 were some of the best years to be an agent, because when the agent count bottoms and transactions haven't fully bottomed, the available number of deals per agent goes up. And so what's interesting, and one of the young guys on our team was just saying this, at team meeting on Tuesday, we always say, like, tell me something good and tell me something everyone else should know. And he goes, this market is easy. And I go, what? This 24-year-old kid goes, this market is easy. Okay, tell me more about why this market is easy. He goes, I feel like it's getting easier every day, and he's been in the business 2 years. Why? He's showing up consistently. He's working on his skills. He's making the phone calls. He's doing the follow-up. He's doing the real estate activities that you would normally expect an agent to do. So for him, the market is getting easier. That's the missed opportunity. So there's the market, there's what's happening. Now, what should agents do? Agents should figure out how to plug in. This idea of the virtual office right now, to be honest, is probably hurting most agents. You need to get around your homies, your friends, the people who know the business. You need to walk down the halls and rub elbows with them and say, hey, Benji, what's working really well in your business right now? Hey, Lance, what's working really well in your business? Hey, Tracy, how'd you take that last listing? Because they may tell you one little tip or trick. You need to practice your scripts and dialogues every day. You need to write down your presentations. You need to write down the 5 objections. One of the things we were just doing, we were getting back to this old school idea of the flowchart. I haven't had a flowchart for anything in real estate in forever. We were just going through this with everyone. And we're saying, okay, so I got this first thing on the top right here. Well, if that happens, now what do I do next? Now what do I do next? But make it simple, stupid, and kind of just walk yourself through that. The only reason people are leaving right now is they're unwilling to become a professional versus the hobbyist. They're unwilling to increase their skills. They're unwilling to show up daily, do the grind, make the phone calls, send the text messages, make the videos, make the social media posts, do the door knocking, do the open houses. So they're going to end up leaving the industry. And I'm fine with that. That's more deals for the rest of us. See, this is no longer amateur hour, it's professional hour. And in professional hour, he or she, doesn't matter if they're new, can show up, work on their skills, and win. And if they don't, they just literally just disappear. So I said to our team leader the other day, I said, hey, where's so-and-so? And she looks down and I was like, oh. She's like, yeah, she went and got a job. And I go, this is a job. If you're in real estate, this is more than a full-time job. And if you're not treating it that way, if you need a 40-hour-a-week job, don't become a real estate agent. But if you like working for yourself and you're a little crazy and you like making good money, then be a real estate agent. But realize you're going to have to treat it like your own business and not a job, which takes more energy and effort.
That's awesome. Where do people sign up? I want to be an agent.
And you've been an agent before.
Yep.
You can sign up with us, through our brokerages and also through our website. You can go to RESG.com and you can contact us about becoming an agent. And even if you're not here in the Seattle Metro, we're happy to help you somewhere else. This is the best game ever invented. And right now is the time to get in. You want to get in the recession. You want to learn. So when everyone else looks at you, Benji, and they go, man, this is really hard. If it's hard to them, but it's your normal, and then the market gets easier, you just slay it. Plus, what happens as the market rises, you get to take that natural ride. You get to ride the wave naturally up to the next level.
You don't even know the seeds that you're planting for opportunities later in this market specifically, because we are probably making up for overselling during the pandemic, but also there's some underselling right now happening as well.
Yes.
So that will result in like this tick up, and it might come at different times in different ways. But point is, as other people are quitting, there's going to be more deals even in these numbers for the smaller group of agents. But then when there's way more deals, people aren't going to necessarily flock back really quickly because it's hard. We saw this after the 2008 financial crash and the recession. People weren't jumping back to being an agent right away. And like you said, some of the best years was 2011, 12, 13, 14. And that's because whoever stuck around were getting those opportunities.
People need to understand at 6.5 million transactions, we probably borrowed some from the future. And interest rates are not going to go back to 3, so we're not going to immediately jump back up. And so we might settle in at a run rate of like 4.5 million. So the market it's gone down in total number of deals closing. It's only going to come back up a little bit, and it will come up slow. Humans by nature, we want this V shape, this perfect, it went down, it just bounces right back up. It's going to go down and it's going to slowly calm back up. And then for people outside of the Seattle Metro, we're a high appreciation market, but you may not be. You may have a flat market for an even more extended period of time. These high appreciation markets on coasts and high tech areas, they bounce back quicker and their transaction count will bounce back quicker, but there are places where we expect low to no appreciation for possibly the next 5 years. So for our investors who always listen to this, I need you to hear that. Right now, you may not want to be hunting in the high cash flow market. You need to make sure you have cash flow and appreciation and go hunt for both.
What are things that people were doing in the last 10 years that aren't working and you shouldn't do? And what are new things or maybe old things that people are doing and you should be doing that's working to get you business in 2023 and especially next year, 2024?
Over the last 10 years, you could go write 100 blog posts. You could run a ton of ads on Craigslist. Yes, you could still do some print ads and things like that. They worked, fairly well. In the recession, it was weird. You could run print ads because no one could afford to run them, and they'd make the phone ring like it was 2004 all over again. Open houses really died there for a moment in time. Okay. And we're just talking over the last 10 years. And you used to be able to just kind of build a website and get a few reviews. That doesn't really work as well anymore. And also what else is dying is cold calling. Cold calling, which we do a lot of, that's dying. Okay, what's picking up? Not having one review, having 100. You have to massively differentiate yourself from the market. And so if the average agent in your area has got 20 reviews, you need to go get 50 or 100. Creating content. I started creating actually due to your help and support, way back in the day. And some of those old videos, 15, 20, 30,000 views. What if I had never stopped and heeded your advice? P.S. Benji does all kinds of amazing things for other creators too. But what if I had never stopped? And so I look at this with this TikTok explosion, Instagram explosion, Facebook explosion, YouTube explosion. Because cold calling is slowly weeding away, agents are going to have to transition to how do I get face-to-face? Content, even bigger. Social media, even bigger. I find agents that are afraid to cold call are also afraid to post on social media. I also find an interesting thing where I got people, guys and girls, and they're cold call warriors, and they're afraid of social media. Social media is easier than cold calling. Door knocking still works. Worked then, works now. Open houses, they're back again. Why? Inventory's so low. Kind of that really tight market that happened over the last 3 years really made the open house not as favorable. They're favorable again. Our team's picking up deals at open houses.
Because there's not that many of them.
Later on in this episode, we're going to go through the builder numbers and, semi-spoiler, they're not putting in building permits. What else is really working for people, and we already touched on this, but we overlook it, is increasing your skill set and increasing your market knowledge. So my advice to agents, and no one ever wants to do this, is I want you to go do homework every week on the market, which means I want you to open up the MLS for 30 minutes to an hour and look through the area of your expertise. So every week I look through land, all the investment properties, through the regular MLS, through the commercial MLS. So in the areas in which I'm buying or one of our buyers are buying. So I know exactly what's happening with prices, price reductions, listings coming on the market, canceled listings, things like that. And then we know the stats. We know exactly where the market's going, how it's heading. In the Seattle metro right now, this is crazy. How do I know the market's cooling off for the winter? You can see it because when every day I look at what's happened over the last 7 days, and the number of active listings and the number of price reductions throughout the whole metro and almost the whole state is exactly the same. And that number, those price reduction numbers, used to only be like 10, 20%. And now it's matching. That means more listings are taking price reductions. Well, what does that mean? It means we're going to have a colder winter. What does that mean for buyers and investors? It's buy season. I've been saying this and it shows it in the data. It's buy season. Figure out how your MLS can display that to you. But if you're watching the price reductions and you're watching what goes pending inspection, and if that pending inspection price starts to go under the active listing price, the market's starting to trend down. And as that price reduction increases, you're hitting a price ceiling. So we're naturally hitting a price ceiling right now here in the Seattle metro.
Are days on market going up as well?
Slightly.
That
one's a frustrating one.
I know, because normally, so for listeners, any agent should know this, but when days on market gets longer and longer, the amount of time a house or a listing is not selling, that's a sign that things are slowing down. Yes. And the reason, correct me if I'm wrong, why that number isn't getting bigger is because the inventory is still so low. Just not a lot of activity in general, but super low.
Our activity is better than most metros. We have high income, which is better than most, a lot of metros. And we have low supply. So supply is it's like barely creeping up. It's almost negligible. Days on market's barely creeping up. And those price reductions are happening. So the other thing too is, if you just listen to the crash bros, everyone should be, the market should be crashing. It's all going to drop 20%. Most of the homes in our area could drop 20%. They'd all still have equity. So when a seller makes a price reduction to maybe adjust to the market, they still have the equity. It doesn't matter. And they're still making a killing on anything they bought over the last few years, unless they bought it in first or second quarter of 2022. Like, they're totally fine right now.
I wanted to go back to what you said wasn't working and what is working and break it down, because I think it's really important, and also it speaks to your experience. You said one of the things that's not working is cold calls, but what is working is creating content.
Yeah.
Explain to people that maybe don't know, why is it that cold calls are not working in 2023?
Yes.
And why is creating content not just important, but a necessary part of your business now?
Cold calls versus content in 2023. Real estate has a lot of ego attached to it. So as people's production goes down and the money in their pocketbook goes down, instead of getting loud, they get quiet. They get embarrassed, so they hide, so they don't make as much content or post as much on social media. And it's a human thing. It's an ego thing. So there's a gap that's being created right now for the real estate broker and for the loan officer too, and for the title rep too. I mean, this is the whole industry, for you to go all in on content and start to take that market share. It's not that cold calling is dead. It's your conversion rates are going down. It's that less people are answering their phone. It's that it's harder to make cold calls today than it was before. We will make them until they don't work. On Wednesday, we had 1,000 dial day. It means if you showed up, you were dialing 1,000 people, and you weren't leaving until you were done with your 1,000 dial day. At the end of the 1,000 dial day, we had a 5.88% conversion ratio from dial to contact. All the appointments were written on the board. All the leads were written on the board. They killed it. We would have done 20% more, 30% more just 2 years ago. I've been watching these numbers for almost 2 decades. I know exactly how they sit. And that's going to continue to go away, because I was chatting with my kids. I got a 17-year-old boy and a 14-year-old boy. Of course, they have cell phones. And I'm bugging them about texting one of their friends. They said, well, why would I text him? And I go, what? He goes, well, I sent him an Instagram message. I go, you're texting? He said, no, Dad, that's at the bottom of the list. This is a phone to you. To me, this is just a computer. I'm not going to be a slave to that. And I was like, whoa, there's a shot across the bow at me personally. But second, it was so brilliant. What I learned in that moment, and this is about a year ago, okay, and I went to my friend Benji and I was like, man, I got to fix this now. We won't be able to cold call in 5 to 10 years because my kids, it's not a phone. It's a phone to me because I was raised by baby boomers. You know, we used to have like the extra long cord. So for privacy, you could like take the extra long cord and the whole phone and walk all the way to another room and shut the door. We went to a fancy house that had like a cordless and multiple lines.
My 3-year-old picked up a phone, like an actual phone, and put it up to her head. And my wife asked, how does she know how to even do that? Because we've never even had one. So, but I want to speak on this because
yes,
obviously
please.
I'm helping you create content for your business. And I already know the answer, but I want to really dive into it and call out how ironic all of it is. People are answering their phones less, hence cold calling doesn't work. When you get a call on your phone, spam calls, sales calls, it's starting to filter it, and then you just don't answer anymore.
Yep.
The habit of just answering your phone is getting less and less and less, right? And
our main man neutrally over
he's
there.
saying it too, right? And he's of a younger generation. But think about how ironic it is. What are you doing on your phone? You're looking at content all day long.
Yeah.
The name of the game for attention and ultimately marketing and converting that into business is you have to go where people are. They used to be next to their phone and answering it.
Yes.
They used to answer like a anonymous call because it could be someone they know, but they're not. But they're still on the device, right? I guess that's what you would call it now. It's a device.
Yes.
And they're on platforms like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. This is why Anton is on all those platforms, and they're consuming content. What's funny too is they're consuming content that they weren't consuming back in the day. Yes. They weren't looking at real estate videos. They weren't looking at market updates. But if you know how to work the system, you can show up in front of them. And that's even more powerful, because when they are ready to buy or sell their house or invest in real estate, they will remember you. And that's what's interesting about what you said. And I see it all the time, because I'm not an agent anymore, but I know a lot of agents, and I kind of recognize when they do things and why they do it. What were they doing from 2013 to 2022? Talking about their new house they just built for themselves. Yeah. That really, nice ride they got. Talking about how, it was all the positive affirmations and law of attraction that made them $1 million real estate agent. 2023, quiet.
Crickets.
And what you said was really important. They're just not, they don't have anything to talk about. They might be embarrassed. They don't want to tell people what's really happening, because they think that maybe that could hurt people wanting to work with them. They don't have a lot of leads, no listings, no transactions. But you don't have to say any of that. The name of the game with real estate and content on these platforms like YouTube or Instagram is put out something that's helpful for people that need it right now. Because if it doesn't help the person that maybe watches it or connected to you today, eventually they'll need that content. Just realize the algorithm is so powerful, at least on YouTube, not as much on the other platforms, that when they're ready, your video is going to be ready too. You're duplicating yourself. So when we say content's working, cold calls aren't, that's like an understatement. The content is not only working, but it is the only way you're going to get people's attention, because people go and look for what they want when they want it. This is why they're not answering their phone. Yep. They don't want to be bugged. Yep. Your kids, they just want to do what they want to do, even if they're wasting their time on TikTok, right? Shot across a bow, right? They are doing it on their own time. So you have to be ready with your content. I talked to a real estate agent yesterday that I met at the networking thing in Seattle. They're picking me up my brain about starting a channel, creating content. And they're just like, I just don't know what to talk about. So I asked them like 3 or 4 questions, and he answered them like without even a thought. Boom. I was like, those are 4 shorts right there. Yeah. You could probably do at least one a day for the next 100 days. And those are all questions that people probably have. Yes. And because there's a lack of agents putting themselves out there, cold calling, whatever, and connecting, there's people that actually need that. And with real estate, arguably right now in this economy, there's new info and data and stories coming out all the time that you could just put in your spin. And this other thing too, he was a little embarrassed when he was talking to me, because I asked him something about the Fed and he didn't know the answer. I said, people don't care. People don't care that you understand the Fed in an intimate way and know all their inner workings. You just need to know the headline, because 99% of people don't know the headline. I said, the headline of the Fed is what? What have they been doing the last year? It goes, they've been raising interest rates. So like, that's all you have to say. And guess what? Everything else is personality. Yes. It's just fun. And it's caring. It's caring, right?
I think the thing that you have to add in for the content game is something like cold calling can get a today result, and content can get a tomorrow, the next month, and a forever result. And it's slower. So if an agent is struggling today, then yes, we got to do the open houses. We got to do the cold calls. We got to do everything to get the today business. And the content, though, is going to feed them tomorrow, and that same piece may feed them for 10 years. That's the crazy thing. You could literally put something together, and because I was looking through the analytics, and I know it's probably 8 years ago or 9 years ago, you and I recorded something about talking to a vacant land owner as a script to approach them on how to put a deal together. Randomly out of the blue, that thing just got watched 25 times.
That's crazy.
But I mean, that
was webcam, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it a webcam?
Oh, it was. I actually think that was a power shot. That was a.
Oh, okay.
It was one of those Canon power shot cameras. But anyway, that's so long ago, and someone's still using and recycling that content. What the agent should be doing when they're feeling the beat up from the market, it's okay to say to people, I am beat up. Everyone is starving for genuine, authentic people. They know the market's not perfect. Even if they don't have numbers, they have enough feeling to know the real estate market's not perfect and the economy economy is not perfect. So it's okay to say that. It's okay to say my income went down or it changed or it got harder, because that's the truth. And then by embracing that truth and being authentic about it, I can now use that as my platform to propel me forward in any type of lead generation activity, but it's going to really ring through in the content like we were talking about.
Interesting enough, people have empathy or sympathy, right? Not in a sad, depressing way, but just like, oh, and you're just another thought in that person's head versus being silent and they don't even give you the time of day. They're not even thinking about you. I think this is a good segue though, because there is a story that I think a lot of agents are not aware of, or if they are, they might not be taken seriously, and content is going to be the solution. And we'll talk about that, but let's jump into what's going on with agent commissions and potentially what's going to be coming down the pipeline in the next few years.
So over the last few weeks, I've had multiple agents call me, text message me, or literally just walk up with their cell phone like, hey, have you seen these articles? So there's fear in the industry right now, and then the media is stoking these fires. So essentially what happened is there's been multiple class action lawsuits attacking commission structures, and they're saying 6% commission structure is a violation of antitrust. And then the Department of Justice, the DOJ, got involved in one of them a couple weeks ago that's happening and said, hey, we want you to pause settling on this because we need to investigate this further. So let's break this down. One, commissions are always negotiable. However, there has been, a number that seems pretty standard. Two, because house prices have inflated greatly during COVID, commissions have become much more of a big deal, because if a price of a house went up 30%, well, that means commissions went up 30%. Four, there's a massive misnomer in regards to how much the average agent makes. The average agent makes about 50 grand a year. That's less than most teachers in our area. However, there are elites, the ninjas, the hustlers, the professionals. They slay it. They make 100, 2, a million. And they kill it. That's not the vast majority of the industry, though. So that's what's interesting when you look at these lawsuits that are attacking commissions. The average agent makes 50 grand a year. And so they're literally working for like minimum wage or peanuts. Settlements that have already happened. RE/MAX paid out $55 million. Anywhere Real Estate, which is formerly known as RESG, paid out $83.5. KW and Home Services of America, they haven't settled yet. So they're like, you know what? We're going to go fight this. These other two big brokerage firms were like, you know what? Let's just give them money and be done with it. I'm kind of in the middle on this one. Let me explain. I think there's some pros and some cons here. So I'm going to put on my positive hat, and then I'm going to put on I'm slightly against this. So I'm probably 75% for this and like 25% against this.
For what?
The making sure commissions are broken apart, which sounds crazy. And realize, everyone, I own brokerages. I've done this for 20 years. Sometime this year, I will do my 2,800th transaction. So we're almost to 3,000 transactions. But this idea that it has to be the same fee over and over again, and that it has to be equal, and that a seller always has to pay a buyer's agent, doesn't really make sense in my mind. Okay, here's why. I'm an extremely avid real estate investor, and I sell multiple properties every year, and I pay those commissions. And people say, well, why do you pay the commissions? I was like, well, it's the quickest, fastest, cheapest, easiest way to do it. Would I personally like to pay less? 1,000%. Would most consumers like to pay less? Yes. Here's another reason I'm for it. Are there attorneys that may be better at a specific thing than other attorneys?
Yes.
Are there accountants that are better? Are there plumbers that are better?
Yes.
Do each one of those, professions have different rates attached to them? Cool. Let's attach different rates, because personally, I'm going to get paid a lot more. Okay? Because maybe as the attorney, the average one bills out at $100 an hour. But there's this crazy professional over here that's the absolute ninja, and they bill out at $1,500. Well, that's me. and my people, okay? You don't get to almost 3,000 real estate transactions and not become phenomenal at this. So cool. I don't care what the commission rate is. We'll slay it.
Well, I think that's it's a great way to be optimistic, but a couple things. Aren't they trying to get rid of commissions altogether and do kind of a flat rate fee?
No.
So they're going to keep commissions?
What they're doing is they're attacking the seller having to pay a buy-side commission.
Got it.
So the seller may still pay a commission, but they may not offer a buyer commission. So here's the pro. So like according to the National Association of Realtors, and if you think this through logically, first-time home buyers, they can barely afford a house. What if they had to pay for their representation out of pocket? Would that also hurt minorities trying to qualify for their first house? Would that also help landlords to keep more rentals available? Remember, NAR is more about home ownership than renting. Another thing that's very interesting is, would that then decrease the demand on the buy side due to the level of friction that's being created? Because right now for a buyer, it's a frictionless transaction. I do believe that probably at least part of the buy side is going to get uncoupled or reduced, but it's all negotiable anyway. And if you're a good agent, you should be able to demonstrate your value to the client. In the last year, there has been multiple deals I've put together for investors and developers where there was zero commission offered, or we're buying it from like a public entity where they won't even pay one. I still got paid 2.5 to as much as 5.5 on all those transactions when nothing was offered. Interesting. So once again, I love this because it could probably increase the professionalism. See, I think what happens is people get upset by the hobbyist who's not delivering on the value, and they go, well, I didn't get the value out of that. You could just go for sale by owner. You could just pay an attorney. I mean, there are multiple ways to do this. But then I flip it around, I look and I go, where do our best deals come from personally? Do they
people that we know?
Off-market properties.
Oh, right.
So my best deals that I negotiate for myself and my investors have the least amount of representation involved in them. And generally speaking, I take anywhere between 6 to 25% off of the list price, off of what we consider normal market value. And you go, well, wait a second. If you're taking like 10, doesn't the commission just pay for itself instantly? 2 seconds it pays for itself. That's what's interesting about these arguments is they make the arguments and they make them very emotional and very heated. So people look at the dollar and they go, you know what? I don't like that, but I'm for this because I think you're going to see the Uberification of the real estate industry. Right now, I can go buy a car and I can drive it around. And that's going to cost me less than if I just on demand every ride from Uber when I need it. So I'm paying for a convenience and I'm paying for when I only need it. Well, if you look at that and you say, you know what, hey, real estate industry just turns into Uber, you're probably going to end up paying more for most of the fees if they become decoupled, but you're only going to have to pay for the ones you need, which for certain buyers and certain sellers and certain investors, I mean, that makes phenomenal sense.
It's just like on Uber, you get different Uber Black, Uber SUV, Uber X, right? You get the option. And you get what accordingly is going to correlate to the higher price or lower price.
So you may come up and let's just say you're getting buyer representation and you're an avid investor. You may need base level buyer representation that doesn't include negotiation. It may just include contract writing, opening the door, and attending the inspection, things like that. All the way up to, I'm really rich. I'm buying a $10 million property. I want to never see it. I want you to do everything for me. I want you to get everything inside the house done, ready, get all the contractors lined up, get it fully staged, get everything moved in, and then literally send me the keys.
Can you restate what is happening with commissions? What's coming down the pipeline? What is the timeline for it? So how far ahead should agents be looking for this all to play out? And what potentially is going to need to happen at that point, and where does content play into it? Because that's what I want to do. One of the reasons you're starting to create content isn't just to get business. You kind of see where this ship is sailing.
Yes, sir.
How important content will be, not only to get attention, but to be that bigger machine in the future.
So, one, this is the Biden administration using the DOJ as a weapon again to go attack things that may or may not necessarily need to be attacked. And it makes me sad that this is happening this way. But what's funny is I slightly agree with it personally. Like, I'm more towards the agreement. 2, this is more fear-mongering than anything else. I believe that, yes, a standard commission rate, a 6% commission, but that hasn't existed as that is the de facto. Especially here in the Seattle Metro, you see 2.5s, you see 1s, you see flat fees all the time on both the list side and the buy side. For us, it's really been wild, wild west of whatever you can negotiate. So I think the media is creating more fear around this. So I don't think they need to worry about a timeline. I don't think they need to worry about the industry falling apart. This is more fear than anything else. And then also, this is another form of political grandstanding, where you've got some class action lawsuit attorneys that are going to make a big bag of money, because that's what they do. And they're going to make it look like something's happening, and it's not going to benefit the consumer. It's only going to benefit the big guy. It's only going to benefit corporate America, and nothing really is going to change. Okay? Yes, it may change slightly, but I don't know that you'll see a huge change. But don't worry about it. Just go increase your skill set. When we're talking about content, that's a machine they should be doing instantly, because if I'm getting this many questions about this, it means people want to know and they want to understand what's happening. Both the buyers, the sellers, the real estate agents, and the brokers. So why not be the person that is their trusted resource, that answers their questions, becomes their guide through the forest? Also, if you are working on your professionalism, you have nothing to worry about. If you're here for amateur hour and the easy deal, you have a lot to worry about, but I want you to get out anyway. It's okay. I love you. I just don't need you in real estate, okay? I think we need 30% to 40% of the total number of real estate agents we have right now. And the rest can just GTFO right out of my industry. I know not everyone agrees with me on that. I'm okay with that. I want people who want to be the awesome, amazing professionals who are willing to do the work. I'd love to see the requirements increase so that what happens is the industry I love is composed of amazing professionals, and people go, man, I just paid that guy 50 grand. He's 1,000% worth it. Instead of saying, you know what, I just paid that agent $10,000 and they're not worth it at all. If the standards were up, you wouldn't have that.
Yeah, with the market slowing down, hobby agents quitting, professionals sticking around, commission structures potentially changing, maybe getting more challenging for certain people, it's going to further create even more competition with, who's going to stick around and benefit from all of it. But one of the things I know about content is you have to be the big fish now. And to be the big fish, it's content that's going to literally get the attention. So if you're not creating attention, you're just going to shrink and shrink and shrink, because more of our attention and eyeballs are on our devices, and that's where we're living, right? Yes. What's interesting about cold calls not working, if you do the content game right and you do build awareness and an audience and people think you're the authority, people are going to cold call you.
Yes.
People are going to make your phone ring off the hook as long as you put out valuable information. You tell them about how to get in contact with you. And it might not happen today, but it could happen very well next week, next month. Like you said, on and on and on from one piece of content that you recorded years ago.
I wish I would have maintained doing it when you originally harassed me to do this. What was that, 2008 or 2009?
I do remember, yeah. No, it was like 2010.
2010? Because what would happen I would have already built such a large platform. I already have a platform in our area because because we've done so many transactions and we've been around for so long. Well, how do you reach slightly outside of your area, and how do you go deeper into your area, and how do you become that known expert? Well, that known expert is attention. Okay, well, how do you create attention? Give value.
But even kind of turn it around and simplify it to your own sphere of influence. How much more connections are you making because you've recorded content that's valuable for your sphere of influence and people that know you?
Oh, that's a phenomenal question. Tons, because what it is they watch a video about the Fed or about investing, or they saw a short, or a TikTok, or they watched a live. And yes, we're doing all of this stuff. or they look at your story. And then what they do is they reach out to you because they feel like they just had a conversation with you. And they actually pick up the conversation mid-sentence like you were just talking with them. Exact thing. Hey, you just said this winter is going to be great opportunities. Here's what I'm thinking is a great opportunity for me. What do you think? I'm like, dude, I just said that 2 days ago. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And I mean, everyone, if you're getting value out of this, please like, subscribe, connect with us, and then always feel free to text or DM me. I'm happy to answer your questions, but this is how everyone's going to connect over the next 10 years. Unfortunately, that cold calling, which I love, and we've made hundreds and hundreds of thousands, it's just dying. One little fun thing that I should have thrown in the last one that I thought about while we were talking, direct mail and handwritten notes. I forgot to bring that up. Sending handwritten notes right now is gold.
Can you add like a $5 Subway coupon?
That would get expensive real quick.
But it would work.
I think it would work, but we're hunting these development properties right now in Snohomish County. And one of the guys on our team wrote 112 handwritten notes. And he got 39 responses.
Wow.
It's such a high response rate. Well, why? When was the last time you received a handwritten note? You personally?
It's been a while. Maybe 2 in the last 10 years.
Okay. So they're extremely rare. So if you got a handwritten note in the mail and you see it's hand addressed, you're going to open the envelope, you're going to read through it. So just one of those tips I wanted to throw back in. Yeah, we're killing it with handwritten notes. P.S. We've done handwritten notes since 2003. December will be my 20th year. Okay? Like it's right around the corner. That's a timeless thing that has worked phenomenal. Please do handwritten notes. For my investors, do your handwritten notes too. They work awesome.
But what's going on with new construction housing starts?
So new construction housing starts right now. So these numbers get released once a month from the Census Bureau. And building permits. September, we're at a seasonally adjusted annual rate of approximately 1.5 million. Here's what you need to hear, though. And that number is 7.2% below September 2022. So building permits are down September to September. What have we been telling all of our listeners? It's go time in construction. It's go time to flip something. Because when the economy pinches, builders naturally start to pull back. And this is data showing you that. Housing starts. Okay, so they do building permits, housing starts, and completes. Housing starts. The seasonally adjusted rate was 1.358 million, and that's 7% above the revised estimate. And 1.269 million is the revised estimate for August, which is 7.2% below the September 2022 rate. So not only are permits down, the number that they're starting is less than 2022. So we don't have the foreclosures coming. Okay, yes, foreclosures are rising slightly, but it's still negligible. We have the lock-in effect where the seller has a 3% interest rate and they can't financially afford or mentally and emotionally afford to go into a 7% and trade their home. And building starts and building permits are down. Everyone should be hearing opportunity, opportunity, opportunity to go build or flip here over the next 12 months. Now be very careful, be very cautious, because you need to be prepared just in case the market turns. So if you've done one, now's not the time to go get 5 under contract. But if you've done one, let's go do one again. If your regular run rate is 5, let's go do 5. That is the massive opportunity.
What's the message for agents?
The message for agents right now on this new construction side is go find builders, developers, and your small home flipper who wants to do some business right now, and then go understand their criteria and their buy box. Go hunt them down deals and feed them deals, because that's an opportunity for you to get a double commission. I can get a land commission, okay, or a house commission. Then I can get a listing commission again on the other side. So one piece of work can create 2 commissions for you. And would you rather go work with 100 buyers, or would you rather work with 10 or 5 investors, builders, or developers and do 100 transactions? That's the beauty of it. You can work for 5 people and do an amazing amount of business. So much opportunity in this right now. Like, hear me out. Lastly, I want to close with the Fed. We love talking about the Fed. Benji doesn't know that he's going to lose his double or nothing.
$200. Is 100 in here still?
Yeah, it might still be in there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
Okay.
we still got the
I have to
100.
add another 200 in there.
I believe the Fed's not going to raise again. Okay, we've said this before. And in the comments, tell me whether I'm right or wrong. The Fed came out today for their economic outlook. This is the last time they talk before they go into their dark period, before we get to talk about them raising or not raising again. Jerome came out today and he said some very important stuff. And what he was basically saying is, he said, we must maintain and we have to keep higher for longer, because the second we hint that things are going to change. Now, this is Anton paraphrasing Papa Powell's words. The second we hint it's going to change, the market will instantly turn on a dime. Yields for bonds will change, and liquidity will increase, and the market will come roaring back. So we have to maintain the vigilant stance and are talking tough. But he didn't talk as tough this time as he did the last time, number one. Number two, one of the other guys, Harker, he came out and said, we're probably there and we may be able to lower next year. So he was kind of dovish, as we would say. But the speech was all about, we must maintain, and hear me when I say we're going to stay there until we get to 2. We're not going to reduce before or hint at it, because the market's going to light on fire. So most people look at that and they would think that's hawkish. I actually took it as extreme positive news. I took it as, the Fed has said, and that's why these other people that are on the committee are coming out and saying, they're basically saying, you know what, the market is doing our job. We're hitting the rate we were supposed to hit. The financial conditions have gotten tight enough. Now we just have to wait. So I believe we've already hit pause. And then what's going to happen is late next year, they'll slowly start to come down. Don't expect this to rebound instantly. Once again, we talked about this earlier. People want this V bounce. This is slow. Be prepared for slow. Be prepared for higher for longer. Increase your cash reserves, because that's the opportunity, because less people are going to have cash and there's going to be less liquidity because the Fed is going to continue draining it. But it's not as bad as everyone thinks. Just don't be dumb.